Hello, hello. Um, is my mic not working? Fine.
Check. Yeah, it's back. Yeah, so it started in about a minute's time, probably another give it a minute. Just checking, making sure to check that everything is working pretty fine. If my voice is not audible, just let me know so that I can maybe check and probably fix it. Hi, Manas Ranjan. Hello, buddy. How's it going? Thanks for joining the stream. Mm, yeah, everything looks fine, but just let me know if my voice is not clear because just now I had an audio sort of an issue. Hopefully that gets cleared up. We'll start today. We'll be talking about something called as generics, and it's a pretty useful topic to learn. And you guys will be learning this pretty much in a lot of programming languages. So I just wanted to give it a brief plus a detailed overview on what generics are, how you can use them in your programming languages, and why these are used for. In like a lot of languages you see this notation, and I'm going to be specifying like why exactly is this required, and we're going to be discussing on learning to code that as well with Dart. And pretty much this is going to be the last video for Dart. So there's going to be one more video that I've planned, which is already scheduled, which is about Dart for server-side scripting. I just wanted to explore that area as well because a lot of you guys were interested around it. So I just wanted to explore that. But apart from that, this pretty much is going to be marking the end of the programming with Dart series. You guys should be good to go from here. If you want to learn Flutter, you can just pick up Flutter and start learning from here because there is nothing more to um, detail look into it in a detailed manner. So yeah, in case you guys are very interested, if you guys want to me to do something specific with Dart, just let me know in the comment section. I can schedule another session around it. I might be starting another series pretty soon, so make sure to stay subscribed to this channel and also probably come over to my channel and stay subscribed. So you guys will find pretty much useful. All right, so I'm gonna get moving on because for this session we're going to be talking about a topic called as generics. Generics are very important, but at the same time these are very useful if you guys want to take a look into how these control. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, so these are pretty useful if you want to see how these can control how a programming languages itself works, right? um yeah. All right, so yeah, back. Why exactly did I schedule this topic, and what exactly does generics do? Like, what does it exactly mean? And we're going to be looking into that in a bit's time. So, a quick note onto what we saw in the previous session. Previous session was about a topic called as isolates and how programming, the Dart programming in particular, works with the isolates. Right? Without isolates, Dart is nothing. Isolates are the equivalent of threading concept. If you know about threading, Dart is doing that pretty much in the background by itself. So that's what isolates are all about. It is also inheriting a lot of concepts from parallelism, and we looked into how the Dart code runs within an isolate block and how the shared memory works as well. So this was what we saw in the previous session. So if you guys have any questions regarding that, just let me know now so I can give you a um, probably brief understanding of that before we move on to generics. Because with the isolate concept, the generics becomes pretty easy because generics are again a way for type and null safety. That's also going to be used for a lot of things when you're building a big program, right? If you want to build a huge program, you need to make sure that your type and your null safety is actually made sure. So without that, if you just write a huge program and you just keep on shuffling with your types, when I say types, I'm talking about the data types, the the four primary data types like string, integer, double, and bool. If you have these four data types and you are looking to like change things every now and then, and your huge program is now just cluttered with data types everywhere, which you don't want to do. So in order to remove that, that's what the generics are for. So this is something we saw in the previous session, just like I should say, before we begin session, that I usually do before a session. So we're going to isolates. If you guys are learning about threading and parallelism might be useful, but if you do not want to do it, just leave it as such, because isolates are very useful, right? This improves the concept of the asynchronous nature of the programming language, like improves how the programming language itself can be asynchronous, and that's what this whole session was all about. So I'll be moving on to generics in about a minute's time. So in case of any questions, even before we begin, I will try to take that so that we don't have to stop anywhere. Yeah, I'm moving to generics. So just let me know if you have any questions, and we can get moving on from here. Is my voice audible enough? I hope my voice is audible enough, because I'm as closer to the mic as possible, and I do get complaints as to that my voice is not audible enough. But I can see that the bars are pretty much peaking at this point of time. So my audio bars are peaking, so it must be loud. But if it is not loud, just let me know so that I can get it fixed even before we like move on, right? All right, so pretty much should be working fine now. Hopefully, it's even more louder. Should be even more louder. So I'll just take a question or two even before we begin, and we can get started. So if you have any questions related to anything related to programming, you can ask me, and I'll get moving on in about couple of minutes time, so that we can learn about generics and probably close it as early as possible, not waste so much time. All right, so let's get moving on. The first topic that we're going to be looking into is called as the generics, right? And what exactly does the generic mean? So if you see a notation with the angular brackets present somewhere, it could be for list of integers, list of strings. If you see this angular brackets present anywhere associated with any data type, no, right? If you put a string inside it, in between it, and put int in between it, put a double in between it, any data type, any base data type, if you put in between it, then it denotes generics, right? So as the name suggests, it's generic. Generic to what exactly is what we're going to be seeing now. Generics is basically the way for improving the type safety. So when I say type safety, I'm talking about the data type safety. You have a huge program, and the program has probably 25, 30 different variables, and in order to reduce the number of variables, not just reduce, first we'll look into type safety. So type safety says that in order to make sure that the compiler understand what type of a what data type does a variable supports, you need to provide some kind of a variable data type, right? So this is also accepted in Dart, where name is equal to string, some kind of string is accepted. But instead of doing this, you could still do string name of, right? So this is the difference between it. It does not have a data type, this has a data type. So how do you improve this throughout the program? Let's say you have 25, 30 different variables. So how do you improve that throughout the program? Generics are used for that. That's the first usage of it. The second usage is that it also improves in creating better generated code. So when you say it's improves the properly specifying generic type results in better generated code, it means that if you have, let's say that you have a list of string like this, right? List of string, this is different, and this is actually different from list of integers, right? It, as the name suggests, it means that this is going to accept only list of strings, while this is going to accept list of integers, right? So how do you improve that? When you specify this, it gets automatically improved. You are type specifying the type of the list, and it's also going to be improving the entire program that way. So that's what this generic types results in better generated code. So generating the code itself is going to be even more clearer. And finally, you can reduce code duplication, which I will show you guys how exactly that happens. So I'm going to be now taking up a simple example, and I'm just going to be deconstructing this example so you guys can see how the use of generics are used for. And you guys also need to understand that by convention, you can specify a generic by the variable t. So when I say, if you see somewhere that the variable t is used, you need to think of it as generic itself, and I'll try to explain to you guys how this generic actually works as we go down the slides. So just for now, I just need to explain to you guys how exactly and what exactly is the difference between, let's say, a simple list of variables and a list of string variables. That's what you're going to be seeing. So let's open the dartpad. We'll see itself, like we see the code example itself working pretty fine. So just open dartpad.dev, and we have already a void main. So let's do something like this. First thing I want to do is to create an empty list, right? I want to create an empty list and put some values inside it. So I'm going to be saying var data is equal to empty list. This is pretty cool, right? So empty list is created, there is no data inside it at this point of time, and we also specified it to be a variable. So that means that it could take any kind of variable at this point of time. It could take integers, it could take string, boolean data as well, and you don't know about it. So since a list of string, I can easily do something like this. I can say data dot add all. I can probably add all some data inside it like this. You can have a mixture of data as well. Let's say I want to add, first one is my name Bharat, and the next one I want to add one, and I can even add another data like this, coder monk, and this is it, right? This is accepted now. This is accepted, but how often do you think that this is going to be very useful? Now you are accepting multiple variable data types inside inside a very inside a string, sorry, inside a variable. Multiple values are added of different data types, and you can add that into a variable. But let's say that you want to have a program that controls only string values to be added. You don't have to necessarily go and every time check that, right? Let's say you are getting now like 10,000, 20,000 different stream of data from some other place, and like you're trying to get this data from some other place, you need to have a check to see only string data are coming in. You shouldn't allow any kind of random data to be added. So this is okay, but you want to control only string data on the right side. So you can either say string of data is equal to the list of strings. You can initialize it as string of data, but that is not what I want to do. So what I'm going to do, instead of just saying like this, is to add my first generic value or generic data type, right? So I'll just say string, create a string of empty list, right? So as soon as I say that, you will see that it's automatically doing your type conversion or type checking and saying that the int can't be assigned to a list of string. So this is what I talked about, being type safe, and also creating better generated code. You're trying to clean up the code. You're trying to like piece together code where everything is of the same type. You're not allowing random things to come inside the picture, and that is smarter enough to do the work behind it. Not just that, this is generic concept is available in Java, in Python, in C++, anything that you take, right? This is what it specifies. If you are specific about the data type, the compiler is smarter enough to only allow those type of data even before it gets compiled. So this is doing some kind of a compiler linting where the data gets compiled, data gets checked before it gets compiled, and in order to do that, the generics are going to be used for it. So this is called as a generic, and you will be reading this as list of strings because this is a list, and anything inside it is often read as of the data type. So it could be list of integers, list of boolean variables, something like that. So that's what the whole concept of generics are used for, and this is what you will also be seeing. This is the first simple example that you can give for yourself, and you can also extend this to probably a class variable class also. That is also going to be very very useful for. Check once again. Okay, I hope this I am loud enough. I'm also seeing that this is pretty smaller. Okay, this should be bigger enough for you guys to check. Yep. So you can now just run this, and that's pretty much it. There's nothing to run. You will probably see the same answer in the console. But for now, you guys did understand how this is used for, right? So I'm just gonna get moving on from here. Alright, so one thing we saw about was the use of the string. That's pretty much what we did. The static analysis told that it was an error. So what I'll do now is to use the we talked about code duplication reduction, right? So there's a lot of code duplication that might happen in a program. So you want to reduce it at this point of time. So what you will do is just create a simple class now. So I'm going to be creating a class called as probably um, let's call it as what can we call it as, what do we have at this point of time? Okay, let me call it a class as photos, right? And the photos class will be having a bunch of different things. So first thing I want to do is create it as an abstract class, or that it's useful. So photos is my class name, and inside the abstract class, what I'm going to do is to create everything as abstract as possible, right? So I'm going to be saying object get photo, it's going to be string photo name, something like that. Yeah, photo name, right? And also you have another void. You will just say set the photo or upload the photo, upload photo, and you will say string photo name and object data, right? So you kind of have like an abstract interface type of a class, and this is very much accepted. Objects are fine, like you don't know what exactly objects are by itself a class. So you are not specifically specifying a data type per se as the return type, but you're saying that objects are accepted. Objects could be anything. It could be a class, it could be another abstract, it could be another, it could be a function. Anything comes under the umbrella of object. But this is not going to cut the work for me. Objects are fine, but what exactly should the return type be? I want it to be specific as possible. So what I do is I just replace this whole thing with string. Is it an insert? I don't know. Why is it coming like this? They are. Okay. I had some other tricks here to do it. So this is much easier to remember, right? So when I say get photo, just get me the photo. The photo could be a simple string. It cannot be a simple string, but let's assume that it's a simple string. And This is often easier to remember, but at the same time is also easier to transport. If you want to transport a class, which is basically an abstract class, or most often that most other classes will probably be using this as an interface. So this is easier to do, this is easier to implement. But again, in the long run, you're thinking, I don't want it to be a string, I want it to be an integer. Pretty much you're confused as to what exactly should the data type be. So you're just then changing it as an integer. So you again have to go to every class that implemented it, and you need to specifically go and change it. And you're just thinking again, what if it was a string again? Why can't it be a string again? You want it to be as clear as possible, but at the same time you are very confused as to what exactly should the data type itself be. So when you're in an ambiguous state like this and you're trying to create an abstract class which is basically going to be an interface for other classes to use, that's where the generics are going to be very very helpful for you. So you're basically going to say that everything that is going to be inside this is going to be following the concept of generic, sticking to a base data type, and this data type is applicable to you. Like, you, if you want it to be a string, have it as a string. If you want it to be it as an integer, have it as an integer. So I'm going to be sticking to the concept of generics, allowing the concept of code reduction to come into picture, and at the same time I'm giving the flexibility to any class that is trying to implement this interface. So what exactly I'm going to do is just to replace this place here. First things first, I need to check why this insert is just bothering me. um, so how do I remove this insert? I mean, something saying not exactly what I expected. So let's see here if it's working. This is a simple example, and if I do it here, okay, it's still inserting. Hmm. Okay, it's gone now. Okay, so what I'm going to say in this phase is to, instead of just it being a photos class, which means that you are defining the abstract class, you are going to give the option to the user, whoever wants to extend your class, you're going to say just accept it as the T. So there are 4 or 5, I think, different letters that are basically keywords. The letters are E, T, S, K, and V. So whenever you name any of the generic data type, or if you are putting it within the open and close angular brackets, that means that that specific variable is specifying a generic. It can you can take different forms as the program continues. If you want it to be a string of integers, you can mean string of list, it's accepted. List of integers accepted. List of boolean accepted. Photos of integer accepted. Photos of string accepted. Which means that in this class, if you're going to be using it as a string, then that is accepted. If you wanted to use it as instead of photos of string, you want to have it as photos of integer, that is also accepted. So if you are giving it as a T here, what exactly should the int here be replaced with? Because I said that you are very confused, you don't know if it should be a string, integer. Sometime down the line you're thinking it should be a separate another class itself, and all of that is coming into your mind. So what you do is just replace all the places where you are not very sure of, and you'll just replace all the places with your data type, which is what is going to be passed when somebody else is going to be creating an object of this, or when they're trying to implement this abstract class. So that's the whole idea behind generics, right? You're creating a generic way, but also a precise way of making sure that the code is reused, but at the same time you are actually reducing the duplication and also improving the data type and null safety of your program. So all of these brackets come into one picture, and that one picture is the use of generics. So that's what this whole intention of this class is about and this session is about. So we have a few more things to look into, and probably that's what I'm going to be doing in about a minute's time. So just take a quick break now and see what I can come up with in about another 2 to 3 minutes. So we're going to be specifically looking into the concept in the next session, the concept of collection literals. And I talked about still now, I talked about the use of the list of integers, list of strings, and all of that, right? So I'm going to be talking about that with pretty much good examples. So I'll come back in about a minute's time. If you guys have any questions, just drop it down below so I don't know that you guys have any questions. So I'll just put it here. If any questions, questions questions, drop a comment. Yeah, if you have any questions, drop a comment, and I'll come back in about a minute's time to probably help you guys with it. So all right, I'm back, and we're going to be moving on the topic of collection literals. So how exactly is generic used in collection literals? When I say collection literals, the main collection literals are basically list. You have basically you have map, and then you have set, and all of these are coming under collections, right? And the concept of generics are also applicable inside that. All you need to do is specify and just say what type of data is going to be accepted. So just give a simple example as to how that works. So we'll just take a look into how this can be possible, right? So far we have had var name string of integers, and this is accepted. So let's say that you want to have a var string, var data, and this time the var data is going to be map data, right? And this is going to be let's say that it's of type, it's a map. So you just say that without specifying what are the data that is going to be accepted, I just keep it like this in there, or key, it's going to be 1, and then we have a value uh, 2, and things continue like this. So this is a simple map, and this is also called as a dictionary in Python. So anyway, this map now has two different data types accepted, quite simple, and also is accepted. There is nothing wrong with this. Yeah, this is pretty fine, but what I want to do now is to specify that only a string and string type should be present. And when I say specify only string and string type should be present, what exactly do? You should just use the same notation that you used in the previous step as well. Just go here and you just say string comma string, and you close this. So as soon as you do that, the Dart compiler is smarter enough to understand that there are two different integers present inside and throws an error right there. So just make it as a string and it will just get accepted. So similarly here, make it as a string and it will get accepted. So that's pretty much how the use of Dart, use of generics in collection literals. This is going to be a map, and you can still do the same with any type of in any place as well. You have another set, and you want to specify that the set going to be it's going to have names only, or it's going to have string only. You can still specify it during the runtime itself, and that's also another important use case when it comes to collection literals. So the next one we're going to be seeing about the collection, we're going to be parameterizing the entire class itself. Like how exactly that works is what we're going to be seeing. But also one more important thing to note here is that there are two different ideas that you need to understand. So when you take examples like Java, right? And as the document suggests here, I mean, like document is very clear. The concept of generics are still present inside it. You will see that there are a lot of things that has this angular brackets present. So what it specifies that is when you have created your generic, right? Let's say you've created a variable, and this variable is of type string. This is what you have done. You can be creating it as a list of string. Pretty fine, this is accepted, but this is only during the compile time, right? Only during the compile time does this list of strings hold. And once the compilation is completed and you move to the runtime does not have any idea that this is going to be how a type of string. It's going to be list of type string, so it will just assume that it's a list. And since the compilation has already stopped that it's going to be it's only string variables are allowed, so this runtime does not need to know. So there's actually a breakage of information between the compile time and the runtime when it comes to programming languages like Java. So the generics in Java is not throughout, it's only till the compilation. After the compilation completes, it's only considered as a list. There is no specification of what exactly is the type of that it holds. Is it an integer, is it a string? You cannot know for sure. So that's why the this concept is called as erasure. So it's called as an erasure because it gets erased after the compile time. There are a lot of things that get erased because to reduce the amount of information that the runtime has to know when the program is running. There is no way that you can identify if a variable is a list of string or is it a list of integer. There is no way to do that. Only you can identify if it's a list or not, and that's pretty much how the programming language is constructed. But when it comes to Dart, there is actually a complete flow of information from the compile time to the runtime, and this is also called as the reified. Right, so it's called as a reified because the type of information around runtime is still holding even before the compile time is even after the compile time is completed. So the list of string will be coming throughout the compile time And even after the compile time is also going to the runtime as well. And that's actually a very useful thing to do at this point of time, because you could still do something like, is variable of type, say, a data, is it of type list of string? You can check if it's a type of list of string, and the on during the runtime, the variable can be checked. And that is actually very useful if you're going to be writing a huge program that contains a lot of information flying throughout during the runtime. So this is going to be the concept behind generics, and how the programming languages like Java and languages like Dart are doing two different ways, but still generics are used everywhere. So that's what I really wanted to convey here. So the next topic you're going to be looking into is how you can parameterize or restrict the parameterized type. So far you have seen to allow a specific parameter, but let's say you want to specifically restrict a type, and that's also possible with the help of generics. So that's what you're going to be seeing right now. Alright, I'm back, and we're going to be moving on to the last topic for today's session, which is going to be understanding how the parameterized constructor can restrict information, right? Restricting information is in, you can restrict as to what type of classes are allowed, what type of classes cannot be allowed within a generic data type or generic types. So what happens is that when you're trying to create, let's say that you want to create a new class, and this class is now going to be specifically not, it should be only applicable. For example, let's say, so you have a class A, let's say class A, and there's class B as well, right? And you can say that you can create it as this class with a generic T, so which means that you can allow any kind of data type here, right? So it could be string, the base data type string, integer, bool, and double is accepted as usual. And also this data type specifies that it can accept all the collection literals, list, set, that is also accepted. On top of it, it can also accept any type of an object, so any class is also accepted. So you have so much options to pass here, and this class A can be transformed into that in any at any given point of time. So if you are going to be very specific of that, and you're just now going to say that instead of just it being a class T, you are now just saying that if the class T is only a extending, which means that only if the class T is an inheriting another class B, if that is accepted, only then allow it inside class A. So that way you are restricting only the specific classes that are going to be of part B, which is going to be having a parent B. Only if that class has parent B in it, then you pass it inside this as the data type here, or the generic here. So I'll just give another example so make it very clear. So let's say that you have a class called as name, and you're just marking it as T extends base name, right? You can do this. This is very much allowed, and this base name here is the different class. This is going to be another parent class, and the parent class is pretty much going to be used for having a lot of different methods. It could have any kind of information inside it. You can have in your own method inside it, just a void stringify or something like that. Just print it. You can even print the instance of make it a string. Yeah, so we will see how this works out. So it's going to be first class. Now we need to know what this base name class is, right? So you can create your own another base name class, and you can just put some information inside it. So if you are now going to be using, or if you want to use this class, you will say class usage extends name. Sorry, now going to be creating the class base name. Class we'll create another class just for example purpose. I'll just call it as double base name extends base name. So now this class has the parent as base name class, so that means that this is very much accepted, is an accepted candidate to be used inside this space. So I mean to be used as a generic here. So all of this is just a written content for you guys. I'll show you guys a code example of how the static compilation works, pretty tight, and there is like nothing else that you need to do or worry about without it being an additional problem. So you just create couple of classes here. So I'll just create my first class. I'll call it as class, like we named it, we'll call it name, and we'll just say T, and we'll just leave it for now here. So just create a simple class name and use a generic T. So I'm going to be creating two more classes here. The first class is going to be called as class base name, and we'll also have it as basic information here. So just probably do void name, and it's just going to have information about the base class name, right? So this is going to be the method inside it. So you are now going to be using or creating another method. I'm just going to be now saying this class name should have a generic T, but the generic T should have a parent that is going to be base name, right? Only if the parent of this generic T is accepting or having a parent as base name class, only then allow it as the generic inside this class name. So we'll just also now create our next class. It's going to be class double name, and I'll just say probably extends base name. So we have a class now. That class is now having a parent as base name. So this is actually a viable candidate to be used in this space. So all of these are just for theoretical purposes, right? So just now do a stringify method here. So just say stringify to just print what we are able to see. So just do the printing work here. The instance of name, we'll just have it as t. All right, so this is going to be the method. Now how do you create the objects of this method? So the first thing you're going to do is to probably remove this. You don't want this, so you just put it in, as usual, the top and bottom, the start of the program, right? The start of the program, and we'll just say print the end of the program. So you have the start of the program and end of the program, and that's actually going to be very, very useful for us to talk about. So the entire thing now is to now create an object of the class T. We are not worried about anything else. We need to create the class object of this. So in order to do that, all you need to do is to first create an object of the T here. This T should have the parent as base name. So that means that you need to create an object for double name first. And after the double name is created, then you use it as a generic for the class name. So that's what you're going to try to do now. So first thing we'll create is the var double name is equal to double name of. So we have object created. So that's what this whole thing is going to be about. And the next thing we want to do is to create a variable for name itself. So that means that we need to pass a variable here, right? We need to specify the type of it. So just say name of double name. This is pretty much accepted now. That it's not throwing any error. So let's try to do something else now. Let's try to, instead of giving our user defined class here, we'll pass a string here. It will automatically throw an error. It will say that string doesn't conform to the bound base name of type parameter t. So the static compilation is pretty fast enough to understand that you are not actually adhering to the rules that you have set for your class, which is the class right here. So what does it improve now? What is the use of doing this whole thing? The number one usage of this is to remove any kind of extra code that might actually create issues. You don't want everybody to be everybody to accept or have it as or extend your class. You want only few classes to extend it. You're trying to pretty much control everything that is going to be using this class. So that's why you are going to be passing this as your class name, right? So you are passing this as your generic type, and this is actually going to be very, very useful in the longer run. So your whole idea behind this is to create a huge bigger program that conforms to the bounds of programming, does not reduce or improve. It has to reduce the code duplication, improve the code usage, and also improve the amount of times that you are going to be amount of times in order to implement multiple classes. You are not going to be creating multiple different new classes. You're going to reduce all that, improve your code efficiency, and also the code maintainability. So that's the whole idea behind generic. So we have now the object created, and we can just say name dot stringify. You will see what happens where the stringify is going to be used for. We'll just print it. Since it's returning a string, we'll just print it right here. All right. So we'll just now run this program. We'll see how this is panning out to be. Alright, so now it says that the start of the program, the instance is of type name double name, right? So it's actually able to print that for us. So that's the whole idea behind the concept of generic. And this is also another important point that I wanted to really convey. Let's move on to the last slide for this session, which is the concept of generic methods. So until the recent release, there was no generic method support available. So the Dart generic support was only limited to classes. So what you see here is everything that was available. So only the classes could do something like extends, and that's the only thing it could do. But starting from now, even the methods that you create, right, a simple method can have the support of it being a generic. So you can extend the generic, and you can still create the methods that can be of type generic. So In order to do that, the syntax is pretty simple, and I'll just show about it in a minute's time. Yeah. Yeah, the concept is very simple. Again, you are going to be allowing the generic data type to be set inside a method as well. You could have a method like this. You can say get name, and this get name could have a return type t, and it could be of type t. I'll explain what this get name of type t allows, and it could be of list, and you can just say type t variable name, right? And you can do anything inside it as well. So you can just say t where temp, and you can just allow or assign some value and do something like this, and all this can be done inside it. So if you say if you denote a method with this angular bracket notation, becomes a generic method. So as soon as you create a method like this, let's say that is going to be a get name, as soon as you call it this way, the generic method gets invoked, and that's what you are going to be seeing in a while now. So that's going to be the entirety of it, right? So let's create an example here to see how this is going to be working in practice. So just going to be, as usual, create a method. So just call it as, the method is going to be called as get generic name, right? And we'll just have the generic name, and we'll just for now just pass it as a list of string. List of string is going to be called as a list of string, and inside it we'll have the string temp. It's going to be of type list of string, probably of we just this we just print list of string. Why are we worrying much about it? List of values is much better instead of string, because you're going to be now changing it. List of values, right? So we have print list of values, and we are good to go. And we can now also return anything we want. For now having it as a void, but if you want to return the list of values, again you can do that as well. So the return list of values is of type list of string, but you will change your mind. You want to now have it as a type of integer, and like you are okay with that. But again, let's say that you are trying to return a list of string, right? This is what you're expecting. So in order to change this here, let's say you want to change it here, you are thinking that, and again you need to change it here, right? In order to change it here, I need to change it here as well. So int here, so it will throw an error. So I need to change it again as an int, only then it will get accepted. But after some time you're thinking, I don't want it to be a list of string, I want it to be just one simple variable string. And again you need to go here, you need to make sure to subscript it properly, something like this you need to do, and this is accepted. So all of this is giving you a lot of headaches. You want to have the same method, but to do something differently for you. You want it to do something different in such a way that it's accepting base data types in as much base as possible. So in order to do that effectively, what you can do is you can replace the int keyword here, or the int data type here, with the generic type. So just say t, and you are good to go. So basically what you're doing is you are replacing all the places that you're not very sure about with the keyword, which is the alphabet t. So if you just put t here, it will not get accepted. You need to specify that this method is going to accept generic values. So just put the angular brackets. As soon as you put the angular brackets, it's knowing that you are creating something called the generic method, and it's actually accepting it. So this is going to be a generic method. Call it a generic method. So as the name itself suggests, it's a generic method. Anybody can use it as long as you know the data type. So in order to call this, all you need to do is just put here. I'll just put here. Yeah, it's pretty much sure what I want to do. So just a print. You need to call this method, right? So we'll just print get generic name of int, and I'll just pass a list of integers inside it. 1 2 3 4. Done, right? So we are passing it list of string. Let's say you want to pass only a string in this point, right? just pass it, will throw an error. So just quickly pass all this as a string. Right, come here and print it, and we are good to go. Voila, so it's printing everything that we want, and that's all we wanted to see as well. And we are done pretty much with this session. So that's going to be marking the end of the session for the concept of generics. I did clear a lot of questions. I mean, did not open a Pandora box. Instead, I just opened up you guys to an opportunity to learn more about the concept of generics here. So as the name itself suggests, you can have the flexibility, you can do anything you want with the amount of flexibility that it gives you at this point of time, right? So it's going to be very, very useful if you're going to be using this in a longer and a huge lot of big programs will be definitely using this. If you see in any kind of a framework, you'll definitely see a lot of generics being used. So this is not only specific to Dart. This is the same concept with Python. This is the same concept with Java. So it's like one place learn, and you are going to be using it in a lot of places. So that's going to be marking the end of this session. So one important thing is that I'm going to be coming up with a couple of sessions on Friday, and that's, like I said, that's the pretty much the end of the Dart as a programming language. The programming with Dart is going to be ending there. So hopefully you guys come and see that as well. But on Saturday and Sunday, I've planned a couple of fun sessions for you guys. So the Saturday session is going to be like programming basics, like programming hands-on, where you can understand how you can get started with programming, right? How do you get started with programming? Getting started with programming is one of the huge problems as far as I see. If you don't have the formal understanding, if you are not going to college to do your computer science engineering, or if you're not doing your BSc in computer science, everything that is not going to be there, you are going to be finding it like, how did I pick up programming? Like, even though I had formal understanding of it, meaning that I went to an engineering college, I still did not understand most part in my college. I did everything by practice. So I'll teach you guys or show you guys by hands-on, like with hands-on understanding of how you can get started with programming. It's going to be a fun session for sure. And on Sunday, you are going to be connecting with me on a Zoom call, right? We are going to be having a one-on-one session on Zoom call. Ask your questions, you can throw your questions to me, and I'll be able to answer all of your questions right there. So this is going to be another fun session. If you guys are interested, just join that as well, and I'll see you guys on Saturday and Sunday. But don't forget the Friday session. It's going to be on the topic of Dart on server side. Useful session if you are building to understand about server concepts. I'll probably be touching few things around REST APIs and things around that on Friday, but on Saturday and Sunday we have a good banker of a session so planned. So check me out on these two sessions which is happening this weekend, and at the same time check me out on my channel, which is Coder Monk, and also follow me on Unacademy platform, which is I'm under the name Baradwaj. So this is going to be this is my educator handle, so just check me out on Unacademy platform. This is my YouTube channel, so check me out there as well. I'll probably be seeing you guys on Friday again. So thanks again for joining, everybody who took your time to do it. I'll see you guys again, like I said, on Friday. Until then, it's Bharat. Peace out, and have a super awesome day. If you have any doubts, let me know in the comment section. I can answer them in the next session. That's what we have been doing so far. So I'll see you guys next time. Again, until then, it's Bharat. Peace out. Have a super awesome day.